last time we did a full introduction to the concept of meiosis and all the stages that are involved in it. So now we are doing abnormal meiosis. So you guys must have already understood just the normal meiosis, right? Now we're gonna do the abnormal one. Okay, so you guys are aware that we have got 4 stages, or we can just say 5 stages in meiosis. In each meiotic division, we have got interphase, the first one. We have got prophase 1, metaphase 1, anaphase 1, and telophase 1. That's the first meiotic division. Then the second meiotic division, we also have the same phases. One of the things that we discussed about it was anaphase 1 and anaphase 2. We said that during the anaphase stage, basically the spindle fibers, they must contract so that they can pull the chromosomes to separate poles. So this is just a reminder to you guys that basically the spindle fibers, or the spindle fiber network, it actually contracts and it starts to pull the what? It starts to pull the what? These chromosomes, these homologous chromosomes. It starts separating these homologous chromosomes. Okay, so these spindle fibers, they pull these other chromosomes to the upper pole, then they pull these other chromosomes to the lower pole. So they separate the homologous chromosomes. So we know by now that during anaphase 1, we must separate the homologous chromosomes. And then during anaphase 2, one of the things that we said is that the chromatids must be separated, because remember guys that during anaphase 2 we said that we do not have any homologous pairs of chromosomes. We only have got single chromosomes that are lying on the equator. Do you still remember guys that during metaphase 2, when we say that the chromosomes are lying, like single chromosomes are lying on the equator? Do you still guys remember that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we say that during metaphase 1, there are only single chromosomes that are lying on the equator. So during anaphase, this was metaphase 2, right? So during anaphase 2, we say that these chromatids, they're actually pulled to opposite poles. So basically, these chromatids are separated, okay, because it was a whole chromosome that was made up of 2 chromatids, but these chromatids, they are pulled to opposite poles. The centromere breaks. That's what we said, that the centromere, this centromere that is combining these 2 chromatids, it will split, and these chromatids will be pulled to opposite poles, separating them. That is why we had a diagram like this, where we had chromatids that were separated because they were being pulled by these spindle fibers that were contracting. Did you guys get the sense of this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So now the question is, let's look at a flow diagram, or just a flow diagram of how the normal separation of chromosomes should be. So basically, when the chromosomes separate normally, basically during the meiosis that we did last time, what should happen? Let's just take this example of a cell that has got 2 chromosomes in its nucleus. Okay, so this is a cell that contains 2 chromosomes in its nucleus. So you guys are aware that at the end of the day, we want to separate this. This is the diploid number of chromosomes. So the original number of chromosomes in the cell is 2 chromosomes, as you can see them, right? So this is 2 chromosomes. Are you guys all able to see that? 2 chromosomes.
Yes, sir.
So this is the original number of chromosomes, aka we say that it is the diploid number of chromosomes. Diploid simply means the original number of chromosomes before the cell starts to divide. Then by nature of meiosis, we know that at the end of the day, we must be able to create 4 gametes that are genetically different. Okay, that's what we say, that one cell will end up dividing to form 4 gametes that are genetically different. So basically, those gametes, they must be haploid, meaning that they must only consist of half the number of the original chromosomes. Okay, so for example here, the cell that we're having, it consists of 2 chromosomes. So we expect the resultant gametes, or we expect the gametes at the end, after meiosis has already been done, we expect the 4 gametes to all have half the original number of chromosomes. of the original cell. So the original cell right now, it is having 2 chromosomes. So at the end of the day, what do we expect, guys? We expect to have the gametes. These are the 4 gametes that we have at the end of the second meiotic division. These 4 gametes at the end of the second meiotic division, they must have half the number of the original chromosomes. That's why you say that they are haploid. So here, the original number of chromosomes, how many are they? How many are they? The original number of chromosomes.
2, sir.
Yes, so this cell has got 2 original chromosomes. So at the end of the day, we expect these haploid gametes. So we expect these haploid gametes to have 1 chromosome. So we expect these haploid gametes to have 1 chromosome. So we expect them to have 1 chromosome. Basically, I already told you guys the type of chromosomes that we expect at the end of meiosis. Okay, so when you look at these 4 cells that we have at the end, when you look at these 4 cells individually, you guys will notice that the first one, it has got 1 chromosome. Can we agree on that, guys? This is a chromosome, right? This is one cell having 1 chromosome. This is the second cell as well, having another chromosome. This is the second one. This is the third cell having another chromosome, and then this is the 4th cell having another chromosome. So these cells that we have at the end, these 4 cells, they're known as the haploid gametes, and the number of chromosomes in their cells, in their nucleuses, in their nuclei, they must actually be what? Half the original number. That's why we call them haploid. So that is normal meiosis. So basically, when meiosis happens normally, what do we expect to happen? We expect 2 divisions to happen, right? So at first, we expect the original cell, this one, to split into 2 cells. So basically, the first thing that we expect is the first meiotic division, right? We expect the first meiotic division to happen, and we say that during the first meiotic division, we have got 1 diploid cell, and it will divide to form 2 haploid genetically different cells. So first we divide and we form these 2 cells. Each of them, do you see that they've got 1 chromosome in them, guys? Do you notice that?
Sure.
Yes. So you guys, now I already told you the difference between these chromosomes. We have a replicated chromosome and an unreplicated chromosome. But at this point, you don't have to be specific. You just say that we have got 1 chromosome in here. It's a 1 replicated chromosome. This other cell, we also have 1 replicated chromosome. So that's the first meiotic division. Then the second meiotic division, those chromosomes, they must also be splitted again into different chromatids. But those chromatids, remember, we don't call them chromatids anymore. We just call them chromosomes as well. Do you still remember that, guys?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, yes, so these 2 cells, these 2 individual cells that were formed from the original cell, these 2 individual cells formed from the original cell, they will further divide as well, meaning that this chromosome, this replicated chromosome, it will split during anaphase 2. So basically, during anaphase 2, we will split this this unreplicated chromosome into its separate chromatids, but we just say they are known as chromosomes. Remember, at the end we just say they are known as chromosomes. Even for the second cell having this blue chromosome, the same thing will happen. So basically, it will also split. So these 2 chromatids, they will split and they will fill each cell. And then we don't call them chromatids anymore at this point. Remember, we call them the unreplicated chromosomes. So this is how meiosis takes place, like in a natural, the normal meiosis. So we have the first meiotic division, then this is the second meiotic division, when the cells are splitting for the second time. Do you guys understand this flow chart and what it implies based on meiosis?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now, let's now look at this. What if the chromosomes do not separate? That's what the problem is. What if the chromosomes fail to separate? So basically, the failure of chromosomes to separate during anaphase 1 or anaphase 2, it is known as non-disjunction. So basically, the word disjunction simply means separation. So when the 2 chromosomes fail to separate, Okay, basically we say that that is known as what? As non-disjunction. So this can actually happen during anaphase 1 or it can happen during anaphase 2, because basically remember guys that during anaphase 1 and also during anaphase 2, the chromosomes, they must separate, or in anaphase 2 the chromatids, they must be separated. So if they fail to separate, we say that is known as non-disjunction. So when they say define non-disjunction, you're going to say it is the failure of chromosomes to separate during anaphase 1 or anaphase 2. They can ask this also in biological terms. They can just give you the biological terms and say the failure of homologous chromosomes to separate during anaphase 1. What is it known as? It is still non-disjunction. Or they can say the failure of chromatids to separate during anaphase 2. It is still what? It is still non-disjunction. So basically they fail to separate as they are supposed to. You guys should refer to the previous lesson. I explained everything very well there. So non-disjunction can happen during anaphase 1 or during anaphase 2. So let us look at non-disjunction during, okay, yes, no?
Yes, I wanted to ask, you can't say instead of saying anaphase 1 and 2, okay, can you say during meiosis?
No. You must be specific on the phase. Not that the entire meiosis, the chromosomes are separating. The chromosomes only separate during anaphase 1 and anaphase 2. So please be very specific.
Okay, so
Yes. All right. So look at this, guys. This is our original cell having 2 chromosomes. And then now, this is the first meiotic division. This is your cell dividing for the first time. So this is your first meiotic division. So as this divide for the first time to form these 2 genetically different cells, what do you notice, guys, here? Did the chromosomes separate? These 2 chromosomes, did they separate into these cells?
No, sir.
No. What actually happened here, guys? What actually happened?
the chromosome were put one side.
Yes, the chromosomes went to one side, guys. I mean, look at this, guys. These chromosomes, like there were 2 in the original cell, but now all of the 2 chromosomes, this yellow one and this blue one, all of them, they went to only one cell, instead of them being separated in such a way that one goes to one cell and another one goes to another cell. Because remember, guys, that the normal way of meiosis happening, these 2 chromosomes, they must separate during anaphase 1. So one must go the other way, another must go to the other cell. So here, they did not do that because both of them actually went to only one cell. Yes, Sam, what's your question?
So what causes those chromosomes not separate?
Well, it's an error. It's something that happens. It can happen naturally, actually. This error. It's something that can happen naturally, or it can be driven by other factors such as a diet and whatnot. So basically, it's an error that happens when when you are trying to form your gametes. Maybe you're trying to form your sperm cell or your ovum as a female. Basically, what happens when these fail to separate? In this case, they failed to separate during anaphase 1, because at anaphase 1, remember, they were supposed to separate into 2 different cells. Okay, remember, anaphase 1 says that the homologous chromosomes, they are separated as the spindle fibers, they pull them to opposite poles. But now it means that they did not separate. Instead, they actually went to one cell. The other cell doesn't, it remains with no chromosome. That is the problem. Okay, and then when the second meiotic division happens now, so let's say now this is the second meiotic division. This is now the second meiotic division, meaning that now our cells are separating again, or they are dividing again. So when our cells are dividing again, do you realize that now meiosis takes place successfully now? It takes place successfully, the separation. So for the first cell, it will produce these 2 cells, and you can see that these 2 cells, each of them, they have got this blue chromosome and this yellow chromosome, this blue chromosome and this yellow chromosome. Do you see that they've actually separated during meiosis 2?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, they've actually separated, guys, because remember that, guys, the meiosis 2 or during anaphase 2, basically, what happens, a chromosome splits into two chromatids, okay, like a chromosome having two chromatids. Basically, these two chromatids, they split, they separate. And in this case, if you notice well, this yellow chromosome, it is splitted into its two chromatids. This one in one cell, this one in another cell. And if you look at the blue chromosome, it also did the same thing. It splitted the chromatids, they splitted into the two different cells. So this one in one cell, this one in another cell. Yes, sir. What's your question?
So, after this process of splitting, they are going to split again.
Yes, remember, guys, that meiosis takes place twice, right? We have the first meiotic division, where they split for the first time. And remember, guys, the normal meiosis is supposed to be like this. The first meiotic division, they must split for the first time, meaning that when we start with two chromosomes in this way, these two replicated chromosomes, the yellow one and the green one, they must split into the two different cells. The yellow one being in one cell. Do you see the yellow one being in one cell? Do you guys see it?
Yes, sir.
And the blue
Yes, sir.
one,
Yes, sir.
yes, and the blue one being in another cell. They have separated or they have splitted. Okay, they've separated or they've splitted. Then during the second meiotic division, specifically during anaphase 2, this yellow chromosome, it must split again. That is why, guys, I said it's very important for you to understand what anaphase 2 does. It splits the chromatids and it pulls them to opposite poles. So basically, during anaphase 2, this yellow chromosome that we are finding in this cell, it must split again into individual chromatids. These individual chromatids, do you guys see the individual chromatids in the second meiotic division? This one.
Yes, sir.
Yes, that is what is supposed to happen. Even the blue chromosome, it is supposed to split into individual chromatids as well. But remember, guys, we say that at this point, we don't refer to them as chromatids. We say they are known as what? They are known as unreplicated chromosomes. So we just say that they are chromosomes. So this is the normal way of meiosis happening. The two chromosomes, they first separated. The two replicated chromosomes, they first separated into two different cells. That is the first meiotic division. They separated during anaphase 1. And then during anaphase 2, they must also separate again, meaning that each and every chromosome, it must separate into two individual chromatids. And those chromatids, they must go to the two of these separate cells. Similarly, for the blue chromosome, the same thing must happen. Do you notice that, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, but now when it doesn't happen during anaphase 1, if the chromosomes did not split, all of them, they actually went to one place. You can see that all of these chromosomes, they only went to one cell. They did not separate. The blue chromosome and the yellow chromosome, they did not separate. All of them, they went to what? To one place. They went to only one cell, leaving this other cell empty with no chromosome, because initially it is supposed to have one chromosome. The blue chromosome must be here. But now, because they failed to separate during anaphase 1, what happens? All of these two chromosomes, these two homologous chromosomes, they will go to only one cell. And then now, during the second meiotic division, what must happen? They must split again. That's why it's the second meiotic division. That's anaphase 2 for you. So during anaphase 2, you need to remember, guys, that they must separate again. During anaphase 2, what is separating? It is the chromatids that are separating. The chromatids that are separating, sister chromatids separating. So one is being pulled to the upper pole, another one is being pulled to the lower pole. Okay, so basically this yellow chromosome, it will split into its two individual chromatids. It is this one, number 1, and this one, number 2, into these two cells. Are you guys able to see that?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
and
sir.
Yes, and the blue one, the same thing will happen. The blue chromosome, although since I've highlighted it in yellow, it tends to be green, but it's the blue chromosome. It will also split into its individual chromosomes, and these chromosomes will go to separate cells. Okay, but now look at the empty cell, guys. When it divides again, it will form two empty cells as well because it doesn't have any chromosomes in it, right? So we end up having these two cells that are empty. We end up having these two cells that are what? That are empty. This is an error already because remember, guys, I told you guys, meiosis must be a reduction division, meaning that if you had 4 chromosomes at first, you must have 2 chromosomes in the gametes. But if you look carefully, guys, and we do a count on the number of chromosomes, we had 2 chromosomes in the original cell. The first cell that we had 2 chromosomes. Had only 2 chromosomes. So we expect the gametes to have at least 1 chromosome each, 1 unreplicated chromosome. I'm talking about 1 chromatid, by the way, because the chromatid, remember, guys, which I say is known as a chromosome during the last phase. But look at this, guys. The first cell that we have here, how many chromosomes does it have? This first cell that we have, this first gamete that we have, how many chromosomes do you see?
2 chromosomes.
2. What about the next one? How many chromosomes do you see?
2, sir.
2 chromosomes. What about the third one? Because there are 4 gametes. What about the third one?
None.
Empty.
No chromosomes.
Yes, no chromosomes. The fourth one?
Empty.
Empty as well. So do you see, guys, that this is not the normal meiosis? Because the normal meiosis was supposed to distribute these 2 chromosomes into 1, 1, 1, 1 at the end of the day. But now it's not that. Because we've got 2 here, we've got 2 here, we've got empty here, we've got empty here. So these are not the haploid gametes that we really want. They've got an error. If it's your sperm cell, it's already a bad sperm cell. If you try to make a baby with that sperm cell, that baby won't be normal. Yes, Sam, what's your question?
Sir, this error can be corrected or what?
No, it cannot be corrected. Well, I don't think it can be corrected, but you know, science and medical scientists, they keep on inventing better ways to fix human problems, but basically, I don't think it can be corrected. Yeah, so once we have got a sperm cell that has got a wrong number of chromosomes, because now this one has got 2 of them, this one has got 2 of them, this one has got 0, this one has got 0. So it's not what it's supposed to be. We're supposed to have 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 in each and every cell. Yes, Telmo.
Sir, since they didn't get separated as homologous pairs, why did they get separated on the second meiotic division?
Well,
Why didn't they?
Okay, it happens that during the first meiotic division, they couldn't separate. The homologous chromosomes didn't separate, and they all went to one cell. But during the second meiotic division, it seemed like they did say successfully. Okay, so in grade 12, you will never find a case whereby they failed to separate in all of the stages or in all of the divisions. But here, they failed to separate in anaphase 1. But in anaphase 2, they were able to separate successfully. But once you fail to separate them in anaphase 1, really your result will not be the same. It won't be normal. I will clear tell.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Sam.
So in other words, anti-digestion only happens in men. Now the question is, this process, it only happens in men.
No. It can
also happen.
It can also happen to females. It's actually more often. It happens usually in females, where when they are producing their ovum, when they are producing their egg cell, it usually happens in females. But it can also happen in males as well. Okay. Oh, yes, Trevor.
Sir, angithi uyazi ukuthi ku-metaphase sithi ama-spring fibers a-attach-a kulama homologous pairs angithi
centromere
phezulu A1 is a pass angithi. Yeah, to the centromeres angithi.
Yes.
So obviously lenye yaphezulu ibambe enye chromosome esephezulu ku-metaphase 1 angithi la zingama-homologous pairs angithi A1 ibambe phezulu ini i-spindle fiber ibambe i-centromere ye-chromosome ephezulu, A1 ibambe i-centromere ye-chromosome ephansi. So obviously contract si-expect ukuthi le enye iye nenye phezulu, le enye iye nenye phansi. So kwenzakalani i-spindle fiber makwenzeka i-abnormal meiosis siyaphezulu, maybe siyabreaka ukwenzakalani
sometimes okay, sometimes the homologous chromosomes, they may be attached to one another. They can actually attach to one another in such a way that even if the spindle fibers are pulling them to opposite direction, they won't go. Or there might be something faulty with the spindle fibers and all other possibilities. But it's something that happens. It's abnormal, but it's something that can happen. Ukuthi nje angaseparate, but they must fail to separate. When they fail to separate, it's already a problem. That's non-disjunction.
Okay,
yes, Yangoba.
Say in that information, so you are trying to tell us, when the spindle fibers trying to pull the chromosome to separate the chromosome, the centromere iyaqina.
Yeah, it can happen that the centromere tightens in such a way that the spindle fibers will not be able to pull, or it can happen that the spindle fibers did not attach correctly. Okay, there are many possibilities, but I like how you guys are thinking, because you are thinking of all possibilities, but you can do further research on how does that occur. But some of the things, they are caused by the lifestyle and the chemicals that we consume, especially when you consume some chemicals such as contraceptive chemicals. They may actually affect the production of your gametes. Maybe use contraception as chemicals, and those chemicals, they get inside your somatic cells before they divide, and then now those chemicals, they actually make it very hard for these chromosomes to separate. There are many factors that can cause this abnormal meiosis to occur.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Let's look at the non-disjunction during anaphase 2, quick, so that when we go to the break, we'll come back and just look at the process and how to explain the conditions thereof. Okay, so let's take the first meiotic division, guys. Here, let's look. This is still the same cell. The cell has got 2 homologous chromosomes, right? These are 2 homologous chromosomes. So the diploid number is 2. So we expect all the gametes to have 1 chromosome each, 1 copy of the chromosome. We're talking about 1 chromatid basically, but we call it a chromosome to make things simpler for you guys. So we expect to have 1 chromosome in each of them. Okay, so now you've got this yellow one, and then you've got this blue one. Okay, it turns green if I highlight it in yellow. Sorry, but it's blue. Okay, guys, did the first meiotic division happen successfully here? Did the first meiotic division happen successfully? Like, did anaphase 1? Yes. Do you realize, guys, that anaphase 1 happened successfully here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, because you can see that they separated indeed. Because here you can see that this yellow one went to one cell, this blue one went to another cell. So that's a successful separation during anaphase 1. Be specific on the phase, guys. Don't just say the first meiotic division. Tell us that it's anaphase 1. That's when they separate. So during the first meiotic division in anaphase 1, they have separated successfully. But let's look at the second meiotic division. Okay, let's look at the second meiotic division. What is wrong with the second meiotic division when these 2 cells now divide for the second time? What do you see as an error there? When these 2 cells, these ones, this one with the yellow chromosome and then this one with the blue chromosome, when these 2 separate, what error do you see, or what problems are you seeing there? Yes, Telmo?
Sir, the cell with the blue chromosome failed to separate. The chromatids failed to separate, so
Yes.
both of them went to the other cell instead of both separating.
Okay, so let's look at these guys. The cell having the yellow chromosome, it was able to separate in a good manner during anaphase 2, because basically you guys can see properly here, right, that this one with the yellow chromosome, basically it separated. Remember, during anaphase 2 it must separate into two individual chromatids, right? So it separated into two chromatids. It's 1 and it's 2. Okay, so it separated successfully. Okay, these are our chromatids, but we say they're known as chromosomes. Remember, guys, don't say I'm confusing things. These are chromosomes. They are chromatids indeed, but they are known as unreplicated chromosomes, as I explained last time. So we can say that this cell divided successfully for the second time during the second meiotic division. But when you go to the blue cell, you can see that it had this one blue chromosome. So this one blue chromosome, we divide it. When we divided it, it was supposed to separate. We were supposed to have one chromatid. One chromatid was supposed to go into the cell, right? One chromatid into the first cell and the other chromatids into the second cell. So basically they were supposed to separate one chromatid in one cell, one chromatid in another cell. But did they do that here? No, they didn't do that. Instead, all the chromatids, they did separate indeed, but all of them, they went to only one cell. So they did separate, but they didn't separate. You can just say that. Okay, so they were supposed to go into these two different cells, but they went to only one cell. That's where the error happened. Yes, Yangoba.
So I wanted to ask, these are non-disjunctions. There are two types of non-disjunctions. So this one on the left, it happens only in anaphase 1, and
Yes.
this on my left only happen in anaphase 2. You
Yes.
can't just have that type of division in anaphase 1 from the anaphase 2.
So basically we have got two types of non-disjunction. That is what it's implying. So we can have non-disjunction. Actual non-disjunction simply means that the chromosomes or the chromatids are not separating. So it can happen during anaphase 1, whereby the homologous chromosomes must separate here, or it can happen during anaphase 2, where the chromatids must separate, but they don't. So we do have two types of non-disjunctions. So now you can see that now our gametes here, one of them has got an extra chromosome. Actually, we're supposed to have only one chromatid inside, but now we've got two of them. So there's an extra, but the other cell doesn't have any chromosome. That's an abnormality. So after 10 minutes, we'll come back and we'll now try to explain that using words.
Hey Lapo, I know that you've been enjoying this wonderful video and most likely you've been enjoying watching this handsome face in front of you, but sorry ladies, I'm taken. I just here to tell you that Educate is on the road to 100,000 subscribers by the end of 2025. So please click the subscribe button and click the notification bell so that you get notifications whenever I post new videos. I want you guys to pass. Okay, so if you make my dream true, I reach 100k subscribers, I will make your dreams come true. I will even get you to varsity. I will get you with 7 distinctions. Yes.
I'm saying, so what is going to happen about those clean daughter cells, running among chromosomes?
Well, they're gonna actually produce an error. Let's say you go ahead and you try to make a baby using a gamete that doesn't have any chromosome. You cannot be able to create a normal baby from that. That would be conditioned. That's where syndromes come from. So there are different types of syndromes, including Down syndrome and multiple other different types of syndromes. They are just errors during meiosis, during the creation of your seed. If you're a male being, your sperm cell or your seed, basically it is created through this process of meiosis, right? So basically, if it happens that there are errors that happen there, that is going to affect whatever baby you're going to make. But let's look actually at how that works out to be. All right, guys, a question would come in this way. They will just be like, describe the abnormality at A. So you guys should be able to identify non-disjunction from from diagrams such as this one. Can you guys see this diagram clearly?
Yes, sir.
All right. So what process is happening here? What phase of meiosis is happening?
Anaphase 2, sir.
Anaphase 2, right? Why would you say it's anaphase 2?
Single chromatids are being pulled towards the pole, sir.
Yeah, so we're having chromatids. These are chromatids, guys. You can see that these are chromatids that are being pulled towards opposite poles. They are kind of being separated. Some of them are being pulled up there. What is this part, guys? This part here. Let me just label this and say this is part T. What is part T?
Centriole.
It is the centriole. So basically the spindle fibers, remember guys, that they arise from the centriole. So these spindle fibers or this spindle fiber network, it is contracting and it is pulling these individual chromatids to opposite poles. Okay, let us now count the number of chromatids that are being pulled to the upper pole. Okay, we're having 1, we're having 2, we're having 3, we're having 4, we're having 5. So there are 5 chromatids being pulled up. Do you see that, guys? By these spindle fibers.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's look here at the bottom part. This bottom part. So this bottom part, it is labeled as B. Okay, this is the other pole. We're having this one chromatid that is being pulled away from this one. Do you see, guys, that these ones are separating? These two are the ones that are separating. Yes, and then you can see that also these two, the second one and the second one on the other side, they are being separated. They are being pulled by these spindle fibers to opposite poles. Do you see, guys? Do you see that, guys?
Yes, sir.
Even the third one, it is being separated from this one, from this third one as well. They are being pulled away from one another. Okay, let's look at the fourth one, guys. What's happening here? It was labeled A. What's happening here at A?
So, a whole chromosome or 2 chromatids are being pulled towards the other pole.
Yeah, so they are kind of going to one pole. Do you see, guys, that this spindle fiber here, it was supposed to attach to this chromatid actually, and it was supposed to pull it up there with the other 5 chromatids on top. But instead, do you see that it's not attached to anything, the spindle fiber?
Yes.
Yes, so it means that these are actually failing to separate. There is no way that they will be able to separate if the spindle fibers are not attached to the centromere. Because remember, guys, that the goal is here, the spindle fibers must attach to the centromere during metaphase 2, and then those spindle fibers must be able to now contract and pull the chromatids to opposite poles. It's already happening with the first 3 chromatids. They are already being separated to opposite poles, but the fourth pair of chromatids is not separating at all. So now that is non-disjunction. They are failing to separate. You should be able to see that from the diagram. Yes, Yango.
So say I just wanted to ask a question. So what would happen to that spindle fiber? It will just disappear.
Well, that spindle fiber will just go back to the centriole, because remember that the spindle fibers are coming from this centriole, this point here. So basically, if it doesn't work, it will just contract and go back to where it came from. It won't attach to anything. It's not like it will end up coming and reaching this and pulling it. No. It will not do anything actually. It will just get sucked back to the centriole. Okay. And look at these ones, they're separating. These two are separating as well. They're separating. And then look at these ones. These ones are separating as well. These ones are separating as well. So all of the pairs of chromatids here, they are being pulled to opposite poles. And all of them, they are what? They are separating. Do you see that? All of them, they are what? They are separating. This one is going up there. This one is going down here. This one is going up there. This one is going down here. So they are separating, constantly separating. But the problem is that this pair here at A, this pair here at A, it doesn't want to separate. Do you see that, guys?
Yes,
sir.
So
Yes.
basically at the point A, we are having an abnormality which is non-disjunction. Because they say describe the abnormality at point A, you are going to say that A is non-disjunction. That's the first thing that you're going to do before you start describing non-disjunction. Tell us that this is non-disjunction. Why would you say that is non-disjunction? Because the chromatids are failing to separate. That's how I defined non-disjunction to you guys. It's non, it means they are not separating. Then the disjunction, it means separating. So this is not separating. So basically at A, the chromatids are not separating. They refuse to separate. They refuse to go to opposite poles and form new cells. Instead, they want to just go to one cell. Because these dotted lines, they will end up forming a cell at the end of the day. Remember guys, during telophase, what will happen? This will break down. This cell membrane will constrict and it will split into two cells or into two cell membranes. So basically this will mean that these two chromatids that are failing to separate, they will all go to one cell. Do you guys notice that?
yes, sir.
Yes, so that's the abnormality there, which is at A. We can also identify it as well from another diagram. Let me just scroll through a bit. This one. Okay, let's hear guys, which phase is this supposed to be? Which phase of meiosis is this supposed to be?
Anaphase 1, sir.
Anaphase 1, right? Why is that? Give evidence.
Chromosomes are being pulled towards the poles, sir.
Or chromosomes are being pulled towards the soul, towards the poles.
Yeah, the replicated ones, sir. The replicated chromosomes are being pulled, not chromatids, but chromosomes.
Homologous. Please, guys, learn to use terms when you are describing. These two are homologous chromosomes. This one and this one, they were all lying together during the metaphase stage. They were all lying together at the center of the cell or at the equator, and then now they are now being pulled to opposite poles. What are being pulled to opposite poles is homologous chromosomes. Say it again, guys. What? It's homologous chromosomes.
Homologous chromosomes.
Yes, if you just say chromosomes, it's absolutely wrong because you just assume that these are just chromosomes that are not familiar with one another. Okay, prove to me that these are homologous chromosomes. Give evidence from the diagram. Why would you say that these are homologous?
The shading say.
What's with the shading?
You see. Okay, the first homologous chromosome say we can see Uguti they have exchanged their genetic material because say marayibona lapha kithi lapha le esiphezulu na something black nyana and then lesiphansi na something white nyana.
This shading, guys, it shows that crossing over has taken place in the first prophase 1, because you can see that, guys, this white chromosome on top, it has got a bit of a black shading a bit, and also this black chromosome at the bottom, it has got a bit of a white shading. So this shows that what happened here, crossing over took place. So that's a good evidence for you to say that these are homologous. Yes, Sam?
No, sir. I was going to say that.
Oh, that's what you wanted to say.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so guys, this shading tells you that crossing over has taken place, and crossing over only takes place between homologous chromosomes. You can never have any random chromosomes crossing over. What other proof can you guys give me that these two are homologous besides the fact that a crossing over took place? Yes, Telmo?
So is it okay if we talk about those chromosomes that are together by A?
And say what?
And say that so Ish, I don't know how to describe it.
Okay, guys, can you give me a definition of homologous chromosomes? What are homologous chromosomes? Yes, Pandisi.
Say another proof is that they are same in size and shape.
Hey, that's the definition of a homologous chromosome. That's what I wanted. The most important thing. Crossing over, yes, we see it. There is crossing over. According to this shading and the color, it shows that these have kind of crossed over with one another. So this shading, you can see that they have crossed over with one another. I see that one. But the basic definition of a homologous chromosome, they have the same shape, they've got the same size, and they code for similar characteristics. But when you're talking about evidence, it's something that you can see. Guys, these have got similar shapes. This chromosome here on top, it has got a similar shape as this chromosome here at the bottom. Similar shape, same size, same shape, same position of the centromere as well. You can mention that. Are we together, guys? Yes. So this is still our equator. You can see that these are separating as well. These two were homologous. These two were homologous. We can say they are still homologous because they still have the same shape and they still have the same size. But now they are doing what? They are separating. So this one is being pulled up by these spindle fibers attached to the centriole on the upper pole, and then this one is being pulled down by the spindle fibers attached to the centriole at the downer pole. So these two are separating successfully as well. Even the first ones, these two are highlighted in red. I'm sure you guys can see them. Let's go to the third pair of chromosomes, the third homologous pair of chromosomes. What's happening with pair A? Yes, Bandisile.
The homologous chromosomes failed to separate.
Yes, they failed to separate, guys, because this one, we're actually having two chromosomes and they're going to two homologous chromosomes and they are going to the same pole. Like they are being pulled by the same spindle fiber going to the same pole. That's like non-disjunctions. They fail to separate. So the abnormality at A, I would say that is non-disjunction, which is the failure of chromosomes or of chromatids to separate. In this case, it's a failure of chromosomes to separate. So this means this is anaphase 1. Because remember, during anaphase 1, this is when the chromosomes must be able to separate. So you guys can see that here we've got a spindle fiber that is not attached to anything. This spindle fiber, it is not attached to anything here. Because remember that they must be separate into half. Like if we've got 6 total chromosomes, we must have 3 going up there. We must have 3 going down there. But now you can see that up there we are going to now have 1, 2, 3, 4 chromosomes. But down here we're only going to have 2 chromosomes. So now that's that disjunction happening. Yes, Yango.
I wanted to ask the question. In anaphase 1, the chromosomes depends ukuthi kumele abe ingaki la being pulled to the poles noma ahlala so.
Okay, like the number ahlala 3.
Yeah.
No, it depends on the diagram that you're given. You realize, guys, that the first diagram that we had, it had 5 chromosomes. It had 6 actually. It had 6 chromatids. So it depends. There are different cells of different organisms, so they don't have the same number of chromosomes. So basically,
because I was comparing with the diagram that meiotic division to take place in anaphase 1.
Oh yeah.
Bekahambisana laba ashutangala kule meiotic division nglawo bekahambisana. So
Okay, no problem. Yeah, so basically, guys, they might give you different combinations here, but you guys should just know that the number of chromosomes that are being pulled up there must be the same as the number of chromosomes that are being pulled down here. Once they're not equal, then there's something wrong because we are separating 2 equal things in half here. Yes, SM.
So it's possible possibly digestion. Which even for more than 3 chromosomes.
More than 3 chromosomes. Well, we only separate a pair, guys. Remember, guys, these chromosomes, they lie in pairs. We can never have 3 chromosomes lying in the same position and then they now all go to the same cell. No, We only separate pairs, guys.
Sir,
Yes.
sir.
Okay,
Usho ukuthi
yes.
usho ukuthi yenzeka yini ukuthi iyenzeke kuyi 3 homologous pairs instead of ukuthi iyenzeke ku-1 question yakhe sir.
Oh yeah. It can happen on multiple of them, guys. It can happen on multiple of them, and it creates different types of AMA syndromes. So it can happen to multiple of them, maybe, but usually for your grade 12, they'll only give you 1 pair that is failing to separate. They won't give you more than 2.
Okay.
Okay, yes, Yangoba.
So say, number types of syndrome, are we going to learn about it?
No. For grade 12, you're gonna do only 1 type. So for grade 12, you're only going to do a trisomy 21. You're gonna do aka Down syndrome. Okay, so you're just gonna do Down syndrome. Nina, you won't do anything complicated too much.
Okay, sir.
Okay, are we all together, guys?
Yes sir.
Okay, so I'm sure now you guys are now able to identify even from the diagrams now which chromosomes are failing to separate and whatnot, because that's very important, guys. They will not always dish out everything for you to see which this is definitely the answer. No, they want you to analyze the images carefully. That's why I put these 2 images to show you that when they are failing to separate, this is how it looks like. So now for humans, this is non-disjunction in humans, basically. That's the one that you're gonna do this year. Okay, the one that happens in humans. Do not mind these diagrams, guys. These diagrams are for other cells. Guys, please tell me, these cells, these 2 cells, do they belong to human beings? Are these cells of human beings? These 2?
No sir.
Why not? Why not, Bandisir?
It's because a human cell consists of 23 pairs of chromosomes.
Yes.
Only consists
Exactly. Awesome. So basically, guys, a human cell, it must have 46 chromosomes, or you can say 23 pairs of chromosomes. So here we are only seeing a couple of small chromosomes. They will never draw a human cell for you because that's a lot of chromosome for you to figure out in an exam or in a test. Okay, so basically a non-disjunction can happen in humans. First of all, guys, before you describe the process, please write the name of the process. It is non-disjunction. Usually this is a compulsory mark. Okay, so if you don't write non-disjunction and you start describing the process, -1 mark. No matter how many points you get correct in the paragraph, this one is compulsory for you to get. So first write the process before you describe it. You are describing non-disjunction, which is the failure of separation of chromosomes in humans, and you are specific on humans. How does it happen? So in humans, during anaphase 1 or during anaphase 2, chromosomes on pair number 21 may fail to separate. So for us humans, the chromosomes that fail to separate usually, it is chromosomes on pair number 21. Do you still guys remember a karyotype? How does it look like? The diagram with chromosomes?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So basically, they may fail to separate during anaphase 1 or during anaphase 2. I've already shown you guys that non-disjunction can either happen on anaphase 1 or it can happen on anaphase 2 as well. All right. So now, if they fail to separate, this will lead to a gamete with an extra chromosome, or this will lead to a gamete with no chromosome at all. Because when we were doing this example, guys, we realized that for this non-disjunction, specifically this one during anaphase 2, did you realize, guys, that at the end of the day, we had a gamete with an extra chromosome? This one, it had an extra chromosome. Do you guys see that it has got like 2 chromosomes? It's supposed to only have 1, which is half of the original number, right? For it to be haploid, it's supposed to only have 1. And the other one doesn't have anything at all. So this one, it has got an extra chromosome. This one has got an extra chromosome because it has got what? It has got 2 of them. But this one doesn't have any chromosome. It has got no chromosomes. So all of this is errors. Okay, all of those are errors, and those are the errors that lead to that condition known as Down syndrome. So now, let's complete and say that this will lead to a gamete with an extra chromosome. So here we are specifically focusing on the gamete having an extra chromosome. For example, this one, you see that it was supposed to have 1, but is now having 2 blue chromosomes here. So there is an extra chromosome there. We are not focusing on the one with no chromosome. This one is actually useless. Oh, okay, I don't want to say it in that way, but to an extent, it is not useful. Okay, so we are focusing on this one with an extra chromosome. So basically, when this gamete having an extra chromosome during fertilization, if it fuses with a normal gamete, because you guys already know that the sperm cell and the egg cell, or the ovum, you must call it the ovum, of course, the sperm cell and the ovum, they must fuse together for them to be able to create a zygote. You guys already know that from your previous knowledge. For you to end up having a baby at the end of the day, you need a sperm cell, you need a what? An ovum, and then you fuse them together. Then you can now work on developing the baby there. So basically, when this gamete, either a sperm cell or it's an ovum, if it fuses with a normal gamete, the zygote that you're going to produce would have 47 chromosomes. So let me show you the normal way of having things. If we're having a sperm cell, if we're having, this is an ovum, right? This is your ovum or the egg cell of a female. Don't call it an egg cell, guys. This is life sciences. Call it an ovum, all right? And for humans, it has got 23 chromosomes. Normally, it's supposed to have 23 chromosomes. You guys know that, right? The human, the female ovum must have 23 chromosomes. Do you guys know that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it's something that I mentioned when we started, right at the beginning, to say that the ovum, the female sex cell or the female gamete, it must have 23 chromosomes. And then the male sex cell, which is the sperm cell, it must have, let me just draw the sperm cell exactly the way it looks like. This is the sperm cell. It has already been created via meiosis, of course. So this is your sperm cell. The sperm cell, it must also have how many chromosomes, guys?
23.
Yes, it must also have 23 chromosomes in its nucleus. So when these two fuse, this is the ovum, and then this is your sperm cell. This is your sperm cell. When these two fuse, we expect to be able to create a zygote. A zygote is just a combination. After they fuse, they will create what we call a zygote. We're still going to talk about it when you get to reproduction, but they will actually create a zygote. And that zygote would have 46 chromosomes, because it will be like 23 chromosomes from the female, 23 from the male. That will be the zygote, having 46. That's the normal. This is a normal zygote. So a normal zygote, which later develops into a fetus and a baby, it has got 23 from the mother, from the ovum, plus 23 from the father, from the sperm cell. Guys, remember that this whole purpose of meiosis is to produce these things, the sperm cell and the ovum. That's the whole purpose. So if you've been following up on my lesson, you're not confused with how are we now on the sperm cells and the ovum, because basically those are the gametes that we are creating during meiosis. So this 23 plus 23 must be able to give us 46 chromosomes. That's a normal zygote. But now let's tweak things a little bit. Let's say non-disjunction occurred, and then now your sperm cell has got an extra chromosome on pair number 21. It is now an extra chromosome. I'm sure they failed to separate. So during meiosis, they failed to separate. So now your sperm cell has got 24 chromosomes. What about the zygote? What will happen to it if the sperm cell has got 24 chromosomes? If you now say 23 from the ovum plus 24 from the sperm cell, what do you get?
47, sir.
47 chromosome. This is not a normal gamete now. Just gonna erase it is not a normal zygote. Okay, so basically if these combine 23 from the ovum is normal. It's a normal gamete. This one, the ovum is very normal. This one is a normal gamete. Yet our sperm cell from the father, during its formation, during meiosis, either anaphase 1 or anaphase 2, it went through non-disjunction, meaning that the chromosomes failed to separate. So the sperm cell ended up having an extra chromosome. Instead of 23, it ended up having 24, because there's an extra one due to the non-disjunction, due to the failure of separation of these chromosomes. So now our zygote that will result after these two fuse together or after these two fertilize each other, it will be not normal. Okay, so basically this zygote would have 47 chromosomes. That's why we say that when this when this gamete fuses with the normal gamete, a zygote with 47 chromosomes will be produced. Okay, not proceed. I was sleepy when I was typing this. Produced. Okay, it will be produced. So the zygote that we're gonna produce there would have 47 chromosomes rather than 46. Or you can, this point, you can put it in another way. You can just say a zygote with an extra chromosome. That's still acceptable. Because like it was supposed to have 46, now it's having 47. So there's an extra chromosome. It will be produced. So this actually results in what? It results in Down syndrome. Yes, Yangoba?
I wanted to ask, I'm confused a bit. How are we becoming heavy? Okay, I know we are going to become heavy with 24, right? So let's go for the bit. Like in meiotic division, the chromosomes. Let me make an example with phase 1. The chromosomes have separate in wrong cells, but then there were no chromosome la shota lapha net ma chromosome ukuthi ayinjani are relocate akakangidigang. So when the sperms qamuka inside of the sperm asithi kunalo 23, but the 23 aseparate to one to wenza ole wrong njengale anaphase 1 aseparate to cell le wrong.
Wait, so I want you to not get the wrong concept. Let's go back a bit because now, I'm glad that you raised that so that you can understand properly. All right. So this is what you're talking about here. Is this a correct diagram for what we're describing first?
Yes.
Yes, it's the correct one. So it means that I'm hearing what you're saying. Good. Let me now explain it now. So Usiangoba is saying, Uti, let's say Uti, these chromosomes, I'm sure these ones they failed to separate and they only went to what? To one cell, right? And then when they went to this one cell, what did you say again, Siangoba? You said Uti, the sperm cell would have what? Okay, continue, repeat again, just so that I don't phrase you wrong.
You see this diagram?
Yes.
You see this diagram?
Yes.
It's like this diagram. It's what? It's a sperm cell, right? Yes. So separator le. So my separator la chromosome la funeka la sithi I23 la funeka la I23 separator. My separator, you see ukuthi la chromosome from the first meiotic division I2 ngoba noma nale beyidinga la eceleni still bayato bayingathi bayato bayi2, but mase separator folds to the second meiotic division abayingathi abayi4 but to a 2 cell. But if ngoba bega separated as normal, still by 4, but 2 4 cell. If it's a chromosome,
okay. Yeah, so a problem is you don't understand which one is the sperm cell actually here. Let me show you which one is the sperm cell. This first cell that you can see here, can you see the first cell, the one that I'm circling red? This one.
Yes.
It's a sperm cell. That is one sperm cell. That's one sperm cell. This is one sperm cell.
Okay.
What about this one? This is the second sperm cell. We create 4 gametes, remember. This is the second sperm cell. Now, second sperm cell. And then this is the third sperm cell. This is the 4th sperm cell. So at the end of the day, we're having 4 sperm cells. We look at each and every one of them and look at inside them. Are they having the right number of chromosomes? When you look at these ones, they're having what? They're having 2, but they're supposed to be having 1. For this diagram, I should remember that we said we have 2 in the beginning, so they must separate and we must have 1 in the cell at the end. So this sperm cell is having 2, so it's having an extra 1. Even this one is also having an extra 1. So when we're talking about a sperm cell ngalena, we are already talking about something that is already ruined. So that's why I wanted to show you the diagram so that I saw you were confused to see which one is the sperm cell here. Okay, because I mean I see your idea with you thought ukuthi this entire thing. You thought this entire thing is a sperm cell, right? Something like this.
Yes.
Yes. But no, this is actually different sperm cells. So when we're saying that meiosis, it produces haploid gametes, it means that it produces 4 of them. So at the end of the day, we have got 4 gametes, and all of them, they must be haploid. All of them, they must have a haploid number of chromosomes. Means that they must have the half of the number of the original chromosomes. So if we started with 2 chromosomes in the beginning, it means that each and every cell here, or each and every sex cell, or each and every sperm cell, or each and every gamete, if it's a female, we're gonna say each and every ovum, it must have 1 chromosome in it. So once we have got an extra one, that's a fault already.
Okay, say.
Yes.
Can you please ungazumi kakhulu ngifuna ukukhomba something. Bese ngifuna ukubuza ukuthi from lapha ekuqaleni la kule anaphase 1 yonke le circle le lama circle 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 ay8 angisho ayini akusiyi sperm cell for example.
Okay, let's start with this one. This one is a somatic cell. It's a body cell. This one is a somatic cell. It's a body cell. It's a diploid somatic cell. It's a cell found in your body. Specifically for a male, it is found in your testes. Okay, basically inside your testes. They are known as germinal epithelium cells, but you do that when you get to reproduction, don't worry. But this is a body cell found in your body. The body cell splits into 2 genetically different cells. This one and this one, but they are not yet gametes. They are not yet sperm cells. Not yet, because I told you guys when I introduced meiosis, it must divide twice for it to be really a gamete. So when it divides for the second time, that's when it's going to create 1 gamete each. 1 gamete each.
Yes.
So the first one is not. So the first one is not a sperm cell. The second one is not a sperm cell. The third one is not a sperm cell. Only these 4 at the end, those are the sperm cells. Those are the gametes.
Oh, those are the sperm cells.
Yes, sperm cells. If it's a male, if it's a female, it's ovum.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, good thing that you asked, because I think what many people got cleared here on this one. This will be very, very necessary when we get to reproduction. Okay. And I like the way you think, guys. It shows what you are paying attention. The way you question, it shows what you wanna know this. So to an extent, I like what you're doing. Okay. So basically the condition that we have, guys, after this zygote that will develop and it will become a fetus and later on a baby and grow up, it will have Down syndrome. So have you ever had someone who has Down syndrome before? Have you ever heard of Down syndrome, guys?
For me, no.
Yes.
Okay, so basically Down syndrome comes from that. It is otherwise known as trisomy 21. So it is trisomy 21. It simply means that here we're having 3 copies of chromosome pair number 21. So let's go back to our karyotype. Although we have got 3 minutes remaining, let's just go back to our karyotype. Remember, guys, that on the karyotype, the autosomes is pair number 1 to pair number 22. That's what I told you guys, right? Still remember that, right?
Yes.
Yes. So on pair number 21, we have got 2 chromosomes as well. Do you guys see that we have got 2 chromosomes on pair number 21?
Yes.
This is a normal human being, because the chromosomes, they are supposed to be a pair. But if you see another 3rd chromosome here, if you see another 3rd chromosome still on pair number 21, is it still normal?
No.
Why are we having a 3rd one? How can you explain having a 3rd chromosome on pair number 21?
The chromatin fails to separate.
Yes, that's non-disjunction that happened. Excellent, Samuel. So basically, non-disjunction happened here. They failed to separate. That is why there's an extra pair. We were only supposed to have 2, but now an extra pair exists there. So that's why you usually call this a condition as trisomy 21. We usually say trisomy 21 to just show that now we're having tri means 3, right? We're having 3 copies of chromosome pair number 21, or we're having 3 chromosomes on pair number 21 instead of 2. So this is the problem already. So you guys should look at your karyotypes very carefully to see if it's a normal person, a normal gamete, or it's not a normal, to see if it's a normal zygote or it's not a normal zygote. Because if we're gonna have another one here, guys, if we're gonna have another chromosome, they're no longer gonna be 46, they're gonna be 47. Do you guys realize that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, Mama.
Sir, I wanted to ask, the non-distinctions always take place in 21, per 21?
Yeah, the one that you are studying in grade 12, it takes place on pair number 21.
Okay.
Yeah, but see, there are other ones indeed that take place on other pairs, resulting in different syndromes. But for Down syndrome, you're doing the one for trisomy 21, Nina, as a grade 12 learners. Okay, so guys, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna try to do this thing of gender, gender identification on a karyotype. Then we'll be able to close the session and go and rest. Hey, it's been a long week now.
Hey Lapo, I know that you've been enjoying this wonderful video and most likely you've been enjoying watching this handsome face in front of you, but sorry ladies, I'm taken. I just here to tell you that Educate is on the road to 100,000 subscribers by the end of 2025. So please click the subscribe button and click the notification bell so that you get notifications whenever I post new videos. I want you guys to pass. Okay, so if you make my dream true, I reach 100k subscribers, I will make your dreams come true. I will even get you to varsity. I will get you with 7 distinctions. Yes.
Let's finish up, guys. I want you guys to tell me, because I already told you when I introduced meiosis, I told you guys the 2 types of chromosomes that we have. Who still remembers the two types of chromosomes that we have? Who still remembers? Yes, Bandisile.
Replicated and unreplicated.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's good. Yeah, that's good as well. All right. Just that I didn't expect it. You've got good memory as well. Okay, let's just look at this karyotype. When we look at the pairs of chromosomes, we say that we can divide them into 2 groups, right? So, yeah, like when you look at these 23 pairs of chromosomes in a human karyotype. So, which ones did we say we have, and what characteristics do they control?
We say we have autosome and gonosome.
Excellent. Yes, it's autosomes and gonosomes. Okay, so yeah, I'm referring to the karyotype. Not that Vuvu is wrong. No, Vuvu is still correct. We do have unreplicated and replicated chromosomes. But now when we're looking at the karyotype, I told you guys that the chromosomes from pair number 1 until pair number 22, they are responsible for controlling your physical appearance, your physical characteristics. We're talking about your hair color, we're talking about your skin color, your eye color. Each and every one of those aspects, they are controlled by the what? They are controlled by the autosomes. So pair number 1 to pair number 22, I told you guys that these are autosomes. I won't describe their characteristics. What about the remaining one? What did you say, Mangoba? It is this 23rd pair. Yes,
It is not autosomes, say they determine gender.
Yes, it's chromosomes, and then they are responsible for determining gender, right? So they are for determining your gender, whether it's male or female. All right, cool. So I've got 2 karyotypes here. One belongs to a male, another one belongs to a female. So the only difference between a male and a female person is their gender. Are you guys aware of that? Are you guys aware that the only difference between a male and a female is their gender?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, all other physical characteristics can be the same. We can talk about your eyes. They can be the same. You can have the same eyes as a girl's eyes if you're a boy. You can have the same hair. You can have the same skin color, same features. Okay. So basically, what makes them different is their gender, basically. And how do you identify gender? You look at the gonosomes, the chromosomes found on pair number 23. They are the ones that determine gender. So when you are given a particular karyotype, a human karyotype, you guys must be able to determine from the karyotype itself which gender is this. Is this a male or is this a female? All right. We have got two chromosomes there that you can find on pair number 23 or on the gonosomes. This one that looks like this, like just a normal chromosome, it is known as an X chromosome. This is known as an X chromosome. It's known as an X chromosome. Then we have this one that looks small. This one that looks small. It is known as a Y chromosome. This is known as a Y chromosome. Cool. Okay, so basically this is a complete human, guys. This is not a gamete. Okay, this is not a sex cell. These are 23 pairs of chromosomes. These are not 23 chromosomes. These are 23 pairs. So we're having 46 chromosomes. This is a complete human being. So I don't want you guys to say that this is a karyotype of a sperm cell. That would be a disgrace to my teaching, because I have told you guys that a sperm cell has got 23 chromosomes, not 23 pairs. So once you see 23 pairs of chromosomes, that's already a full human. That's a cell of a human being. All right. So for males, let's start with the females. So females have got 2 X chromosomes on pair number 23. So basically females have got 2 X chromosomes on pair number 23. So females have got 2 X chromosomes. So their gonosomes or their sex chromosomes, they are made up of 2 X chromosomes. So you can see, guys, from this pair number 23 of the first karyotype that I have here, you are having 2 of these chromosomes. Do you see them, guys? There's 2.
Yes.
They are all homologous and they are all X chromosomes. So these are all homologous chromosomes and they are all X chromosomes. Okay, so this is XX. That's 2 X chromosomes. But as for males, the males have got an X and a Y chromosome. So males have got an X and a Y chromosome. So we say you've got X and Y chromosomes. So as for males, their chromosomes, they are made up of X and Y chromosome. So do you realize, guys, that females do not have a Y chromosome? Do you guys see that? Yes, females don't have a Y chromosome, but males have a Y and an X. Okay. Yes, Trevor, what's your question?
So I want to ask about on the male karyotypes.
Yes.
Do you see the last pair, say, pair number 23, a chromosome? Do we consider it as a homologous chromosome, say, or just pair of chromosomes?
Well, okay, to an extent, we can consider them as homologous, but they do not really cross over and stuff like that. The X and Y chromosome, they are different. They are only pairs of chromosomes. Let's just say for a male, they are only pairs of chromosomes, but for a female, they are definitely homologous. Most of the times, this thing of crossing over and things like that, it happens on the first 22 pairs, the autosomes. The autosomes, they're the ones that go through the crossover, stuff like that. But the gonosomes, they represent gender. They don't have anything to exchange. There's no genetic material per se to exchange. So all of what we've been talking about all along, we are applying it to these autosomes because they're the ones that carry the physical characteristics that needs to be shared during a crossover, during crossing over. So basically, pair number 23, the X chromosomes is just the X chromosome exactly as it is. You can never do anything to it. You can never cross it over with anything to make anything else. No. Okay. But Just for your own information, the pair number 23, they don't really go through the crossing over stuff like that. They just separate during meiosis.
Okay, sir. Thank
Yes, Ngoba.
So I wanted to ask the team, since we have learned now they eat a Down syndrome called trisomy.
Trisomy
Yeah, 21.
trisomy 21.
Trisomy 21. So the trisomy 21, we see in the diagram, the 21 it falls as under my autosome, and if I'm seeing my autosome is for what is this, for appearance, ne? So
Yes.
if a trisomy happens to 21, you would see that that syndrome, that particular syndrome, it affects the appearance yakho.
It does.
Okay.
So basically, someone with Down syndrome has got symptoms of Down syndrome that appear in their body. And your deduction skills, they are very good, Sangoa, by the way, because basically the autosomes, the pair number 21 is part of the autosomes, and they are controlling the physical characteristics. They are controlling how you look like, your appearance. So basically, if there is a trisomy 21 happening, there means that there's an extra chromosome on pair number 21 because they failed to separate during the anaphase. Either anaphase 1 or anaphase 2, you figure out. But basically, that will affect the physical appearance. Usually, if you've got Down syndrome, the symptom is a flat face. Usually, the face is usually flat.
Yes.
Yeah, even the what can I say? The face and the head. Oh man, the head and the chest region, the way they are not separate. Sometimes they're not separated, but they are just various symptoms that you can look at. But having Down syndrome is not really that much of a disability because those are just humans as well. Those are just humans. Yeah, if you get a child with Down syndrome, all you just need to give them is love. Simply that. Give them love and recognize that they're humans as well. Otherwise, they're just as humans as we are. Yes, Trevor.
Okay, siyafuna ukubuzisa ukuthi what if abnormality iyenzeka ku pair number 23 se umuntu loyo uzoba nama-gender ayi-2 or 2 kuyenzakalani se?
No. It's not a common one. It can never happen. You can never have an extra pair on 23 because really on 23 they are not attached. Those two, they will never fail to separate. They'll always be able to separate in a proper way.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, so basically trisomy 21 can exist. I think even trisomy 18 and trisomy 13, all of those, they are syndromes. Well, I don't know if got Edwards syndrome and Patau syndrome. Hey, they are different ones. But in grade, in grade 12, we're gonna just do the trisomy 21 for the Down syndrome. Basically, it's not common in humans to have trisomy 23. It's not a thing in humans, basically.
Okay, sir.
Yes, Bandisile.
So I wanted to say I once came across a karyotype that has three chromosomes on pair number 23.
Ah, really? Where?
We were doing one question from class, and our teacher said that person is gay.
I as your teachers, guys, these days they are dramatic now. Guys, you shouldn't have any trisomy 23. 23 must always have 2 chromosomes now. There's typically.
I will look for the document and send the question in the group.
So I also have the document now. I can even take the picture.
Please,
also have that document.
Please take the picture, guys. Hey, as your teachers these days, they are teaching new things, and they say the person is gay. You guys,
Gentleman.
Well, gay does not exist in this curriculum. It's only Down syndrome that will exist. Yeah, but basically, guys, in grade 12, you're only gonna do trisomy 21. Only gonna do the thingy. Only gonna do the Down syndrome. So yeah, guys, one thing I wanna ask again is Ngoba is still going to take a picture. I just wanna laugh a bit. Okay, so one of the things that I was saying, guys, in a female, and we say that we see two X chromosomes, like they are identical. They are all X chromosome. Where are they coming from, guys? These chromosomes, where are they coming from?
So one from mother, one from father, sir.
Yes, one from the mother, one from the father. And sure, we know, guys, that like males have got an X chromosome. You guys know that, right?
Yes.
Yes, because males have got an XY. So basically, there is an X there. So one is paternal from the father, one is maternal from the mother. Same thing. When we go to let's go to a male person. If we've got an XY, this is a male, right? If we've got an X and a Y chromosome, the X chromosome, where is it coming from? And the Y chromosome, where is it coming from?
The Y chromosome is coming from the father, and then the X is coming from the mother, sir.
Yes. So the Y chromosome is paternal, or is coming from the father, and then the X chromosome is maternal, is coming from the mother. Why is that? Why didn't you say that the Y chromosome can come from the mother?
Mothers only have X and X, but fathers have X and also and Y. Yeah.
Yes. So basically, in females, they've got only X and X alone. So you can never say Guti when you've gotten your X chromosome from you've gotten your Y chromosome from your mother. Never. That's only from the father. But males have got X and then Y. So you can get an X chromosome from your father, because your father can have an X chromosome. Okay, so that makes sense. But for boys, we already know that the Y is always coming from the father. That is why boys and fathers are attached, because basically, as a boy, what determines your gender is your father. Your mother can never give you a Y chromosome. It's only your father. You get the sense, right? But for girls, X can come from the father, another X from the mother. Yes.
Okay, so must be a lagula diagram besibhizi ngawo ama-karyotype nese. So kahle into le isitshela ukuthi kahle only a father has ability to determine gender of a child.
Yes, that's exactly where I wanted to go, to say who determines the gender of the child is the father, not the mother. Oh, okay, let me not personalize this. It is the father's sperm cell that determines the gender of the child, not the mother. Give a reason why you would say that.
Because a father has X and Y, but mother have X and X.
Yeah, so basically, a father has got both X and Y. We know that from a mother, always a mother's ovum or a mother's egg cell will always give an X chromosome, no matter what happens. But it would depend now on the father's sperm cell to say, is it bringing a Y or is it bringing another X? Okay, so the mother's ovum will always have the X. But if the father brings a Y, it becomes a boy. If the father brings an X, it becomes a girl. So essentially, fathers are the ones, the father's sperm cell is the one that determines the gender. It's something that happens randomly, guys. Depends on which sperm cell successfully enters. If the sperm cell with the Y chromosome enters, then it is going to make a boy. But if the sperm cell with the X chromosome enters, it's going to make a girl. So basically, it's something random. That is why sometimes gender, you cannot really predict it, or you cannot really control it. So it's now I want to have a baby boy. Okay, that's why there are gender reveal parties and stuff like that. Yes, Ngoba.
So I wanted to ask a question. There's a question that's even so good. determine if these are karyotype a man a human structure yini.
That says
Yeah.
what?
Babuza say bathi le karyotype le yemuntu yini noma yesilwane. So I don't know the difference yemuntu nesilwane ukuthi yesilwane ibanjani karyotype.
Trevor, please tell him what's the difference between the human okay man, let's just go back somewhere here. Are these cells of human beings, these cells do they belong to human beings?
No, say.
Why not? Or you are even saying it confidently, why not?
Because they are not 23 chromosomes.
They're not what?
23 46 chromosomes.
46 chromosomes, yes. Human body cells have got 46 chromosomes. Why don't you say the same thing about the karyotype? Because the karyotype is just a diagram showing the number of chromosomes.
Yes, inking abayabuza ne bathi bakhiphe maybe lina 47 babuza ukuthi is this a human karyotype. Mara if ane Down syndrome iyaba 47 still.
Yeah, it's a human, but with Down syndrome. It's a human with Down syndrome. Pela having Down syndrome, Noma having 47 chromosomes doesn't change the fact that he's a human.
Okay.
Yeah, it's you
So
gonna say it's
my number 50, then it's an animal.
It's something, it's another, any other living organism, but usually animals, of course.
Okay.
Yes, Sam?
So, sir, let's say question goes then, let's know what is the biological importance of meiosis in the cycle of plant?
One biological importance of meiosis in the life cycle of what? Of plants?
Yeah, such as neopioneering, so.
Well, you guys did biodiversity of plants in grade 11. I'm sure you guys already know it. If we have got flowering plants, they need to produce pollen in their pollen grain. That is meiosis that takes place for you to be able to produce pollen, and that pollen will then go and pollinate in the ovule and will be able to create a seed for flowering plants, of course. If we're talking about gymnosperms, for example, those are also plants that use meiosis as well, because meiosis happens inside the male cone, and then we develop the seeds. Oh, what do they call this? You guys remember the grade 11 stuff, but basically in a gymnosperm, the male cone will develop some pollen in it. I think it's still pollen, and then those those pollen grains will now be sent to the female cone and fertilization will take place. All of that requires meiosis. Everything requires gametes. Every sexual reproduction requires gametes. It's not only for humans, even for plants. Meiosis happens so that pollen grains can be able to be produced. And those pollen grains, when they are produced, what happens? They then fertilize the female gametes, and then that will result in the creation of fruits if it's an angiosperm. If it's a gymnosperm, obviously you know that it's just going to be a seed without fruit, but it will be inside a cone and stuff like that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, guys, I think we can now take a rest. We can take a rest by giving you this activity. You go and do this activity based on meiosis. I think this is the activity that Sam pasted, but I'll be preparing for your test for meiosis. But we need to start with the reproductive strategies in vertebrates. But you guys should prepare for a test as well. Okay, and go and look at the differences between meiosis and mitosis. Know the differences between the two. Know the differences between mitosis and meiosis, and also look out for the and similarities as well. Look out for the differences also between meiosis 1 and meiosis 2.
Thank you, Lord, for giving us such a beautiful day. I pray and ask you to please sleep, protect us throughout the night. I thank you for this beautiful lesson that we had with Sir.